Welcome to Daily Wisdom from the Flippening podcast. These episodes feature short, to-the-point clips from our full-length interviews. We talk to the men and women behind the trades, crypto exchanges, and regulations with the goal of helping you become a better, more informed investor.
Hi, I'm Michael Kaplan, editor of the Flippening podcast. Today's episode is taken from a 2018 conversation with Sam McIngvale, head of Coinbase Custody, the world's largest cryptocurrency custody service. We discuss why Coinbase Custody chose to partner with an SEC-regulated broker-dealer. For the full conversation, check out Flippening episode 28. Now, without further ado, our conversation with Sam McIngvale from Coinbase Custody. Enjoy.
So the reality is, in let's call it Finance 1.0, almost everyone interacts as a broker-dealer and interacts with broker-dealers. I would say that is just the way most Finance 1.0 interactions happen. Even if you're, a hedge fund, you're an LLC, maybe you're an RIA, your prime broker is a broker-dealer. And they're probably on the back end interfacing with a custodian that is a clearing broker-dealer. So I think that is just the most common framework by which most financial institutions work. And one of our hypotheses is the more sort of familiar we are to traditional financial institutions, the easier it will be for them to invest in the crypto asset space. It's obviously a big enough hurdle to invest in crypto assets if you're a more traditional asset manager. So the more we can look and feel familiar with them, that's just less friction sort of that they need to overcome to enter the space. I think maybe the most interesting reason why we chose to go the broker-dealer route is the SEC ultimately is going to have final say on most of these assets. Many crypto assets, if not the vast majority of them, will be securities, and that's going to fall very squarely under the SEC's regulatory control. And so we think that's the right place to be longer term.
What I actually just heard you directly say is that it's kind of a novel and new approach that's very particular to this crypto asset class to have a custodian that isn't a broker-dealer, that normally custody and broker-dealership is, these things are bundled together, and it's actually odd that they're not in crypto. Would you say that that's true?
I think that's absolutely the case. And it's because our ecosystem, and in particular the crypto asset class, is just so nascent that we're having to start with these foundational building blocks that, again, in traditional finance are taken for granted. There's a reason no one talks about custody. They only talk in terms of brokerage or prime brokerage, really, because we've abstracted custody away. Well, we're starting over from scratch. And so we've got to build base layers. So right now, custody is deposit withdrawal. It is safekeeping of crypto assets. Sooner or later, we'll have sort of solved that piece of the puzzle and we can build another block on top of it, which might provide margin finance, crypto loan, things like that. These are the more traditional financial services you might pull out of a prime broker. So I expect to see that evolution in the space sort of get built up over time, but we're still a good ways away from it.
There's a significant percentage of our listeners that are purely crypto native and they happen to come into a lot of wealth, but they don't really understand the traditional financial space. So they probably know what a broker-dealer is. They have no idea why a broker-dealer would be partnered with a custody solution. Like, is someone going to call the broker-dealer and actually buy crypto assets that are then directly custodied with you guys? Or like, what does that actually bring? Like, what are the net new features that you guys get because of this relationship?
Yeah, so ultimately all of this sort of stems from the 1940s Advisor Act, which says if you are a registered advisor, I should say, then you have to custody your funds or securities with a, quote, qualified custodian. And there's a bunch of different ways an entity can become a qualified custodian. One is through a state trust, and that's been the most popular route to date for various crypto custody offerings. Another is through a clearing broker-dealer, and there are others as well.
Oh, got it. Okay.
The clearing broker-dealer route, we believe, is interesting. In the short term, what can we offer versus a state trust? There's not much difference. If you're literally just safekeeping, just sort of depositing and then subsequently withdrawing various crypto assets that you're holding, being a trust versus being a clearing broker-dealer, there's small but not really material differences. One sort of obvious one is civic protection. So for crypto assets that are deemed to be securities, you can get civic protection for those in a broker-dealer that you can't in a trust. Longer term, though, as we think more crypto assets come online and are qualified as securities or viewed as securities by the SEC, there's many more things that a clearing broker-dealer can do, since that's just the predominant regulatory or entity structure, maybe that most securities firms take. So a couple examples there would be margin finance. So if you want to use some securities you're holding as collateral to take out a loan that you can then use to buy more or do something else with, that's a very common broker-dealer practice. Securities loan is another common one. So if we wanted to, let's say, take a bunch of the Bitcoin that is stored in Coinbase Custody and loan that out to short sellers, obviously to make a return on that and then likely share back with our customers who actually own that Bitcoin, that's something you can only do out of a clearing broker-dealer.
In the short term, there might not be a huge difference, but when it comes to the long-term product roadmap available to you, there's just a lot more space on that roadmap because of the status.
Yeah, that's our view. And then similarly, if we're mostly interacting with either broker-dealers or firms that are used to interacting with broker-dealers, we think will just be a more familiar structure to them.
That's it for today. If you like what you heard and want to support the show, please consider leaving us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you decide to leave us a review after subscribing, we'll send you a free Nomics t-shirt. Just hit us up on Twitter at username Nomics Finance after you've left the review, and we'll hook you up. You may also be interested in Nomics.com, our crypto market cap and pricing website. Check us out at Nomics.com, spelled Nomics. Now stick around for our legal disclaimer. All opinions expressed by podcast hosts or guests are solely their own opinion and do not reflect the opinion of Nomics or any other company. This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be relied upon as the basis for investment decisions. The producers, hosts, and guests of the show may maintain positions in the companies or assets discussed today.